Hello, everyone, and welcome to what is probably the first video of a brand new Universes focused channel for now, To Your Outs. This is a brand new channel that Dean and I are starting. Obviously, we've made a lot of videos for the Team MGLA channel, and those will still be there. Go check those out. Make sure you go subscribe to Team MGLA. And we certainly might still put videos up there, but if we do, it'll mostly be team focused. Not if we do, almost certainly there'll be some videos that are team focused that stay there. However, Dean and I wanted something that was a little bit more personal and just for us to be able to share some more personalized educational or video essay type videos. So we're kind of, swinging it. Don't have like exact plans for stuff that'll be here other than it'll be Universes content that hopefully you guys will enjoy. But with this being a To Your Outs video, obviously I'm going to have someone else with me today, and that is going to be...
Hey everyone, my name is Dean, or Constantine, or Pringlesman123 in the Discords, and I'm here with the winner of the Vegas Regional, coolest guy in school, Justin Martin, and we're going to be yapping about some UVS gameplay.
Yeah, and this first video is very exciting, especially for me, because we're going to be talking about my top 4 match with the wonderful Andrew Porat on the annoying and awful Rodan.
That deck is nice.
I played against Drew. The deck is nice. I just have to be a Rodan hater. I have to, man.
Yeah. That deck is so sick. It pushes me to my limit every time I play against it. And one day I'll be able to consistently beat it. But this weekend was not it for me. But for you, on the other hand, you've cracked the code.
Yeah, well, I cracked the code for at least one round. Obviously, round 5 in Swiss, I did not crack the code. But I do feel as though it gave me some powerful insights that actually helped me here in top 4. Even though I was dreading playing against the deck, not against the person. Love Andrew Porat to death. But with that said, I think we're ready to get into it. Are you ready, Dean?
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, we're straight in the gameplay.
Oh, my bad. I did not realize. Sorry.
I did want to ask, before we get into the gameplay so you're sitting down against him, you presumably have gotten to look at his deck list because it's top cuts. What is going through your head as a sort of game plan strategy into him? You know you're going first because of seeding, so you have some control over that decision right away.
Yeah.
What is your plan?
Yeah, and I'm really glad you said control, because that is the game plan. We have to figure out how to get control of the matchup. Both of these decks, very defensive, very controlling. They're both trying to take the pace of the game and make it their own and not allow their opponent to instead control the pace of the game, right? I think my deck does that by controlling the pace. I think Rodan actually does a little bit of the opposite, where they instead take your pace and make it their own. They play like, so against something like Pony, it just allows Pony to do all the things that Pony wants to do, but it will stay right there with it, blocking the rest of the way. Whereas my deck into something like Pony is trying to slow Pony down. But with that, I'm trying to take control of the matchup. I'm trying to make sure that I can't get swung at too much, because it's the big problem into Rodan, is that their moves can get very fast. I only give 2 speed. Rodan gives a billion speed. So figuring out, making sure that I'm slowing the game down and not gonna like randomly get blown out by an attack turn by Andrew here. And then once I have control of the match, eventually find somewhere between 3 and 4 different cards that kill him, because he's running 4x Genkais, which means that if I play one kill move and it's the only one in my hand and it gets Genkaized, I have to somehow craft another attacking turn. And we will see that in game 1 here. But hopefully that answers your question there, Dean.
I do want to, I want to like start sifting through some of what you said to make a clearer picture. So
sure.
Controlling him is the name of the game. What does that mean with the cards you've put in your deck? What are you looking for in your opening hand? What are you trying to review into, to draw into? What are the cards that you think you'll need to control the game?
Yeah, so the 2 most important cards to find throughout the game are going to be Crisis of Confidence and Imprisoned. Those cards are going to make it where I'm able to commit specific cards. In particular, Batra Arrives is a very hard card for my deck to deal with outside of Imprisoned. And then once I have them committed down with Imprisoned or Forceful Negotiator also lets me commit cards. However, Imprisoned is the much bigger one because it's a target commit. We're going to look for Crisis of Confidence to keep those cards locked down. So Crisis of Confidence, if they have 8 or less foundations, we're going to freeze 1. If they have 8 or more foundations, I said that weird. If they have less than 8, if they have 8 or more foundations, we get to freeze 2. So it makes it where I can imprison Abatras on 1 turn and then put it on crisis duty where Crisis of Confidence is taking care of it. So I can imprison other important pieces so that exactly what I need committed on Andrew's board stays that way. And then you mentioned, this first hand, and we're already going to see one of my favorite cards to see, turn 1, already in the card pool there, fighting for control. That's just going to make it where I can't randomly die. Andrew's running a lot of 5 diffs. So on turn 2, he's not going to be able to actually pressure me a ton because he's going to get -2 to his check, or he's going to have check to 3, and I'm going to do nothing because he already got -2 to his check from the expected 5 check, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I want to see how I have not watched your games closely, so this will be a surprise. Obviously, I know what happens at the end of everything, but I get to see the individual stuff. So as you continue to play your hand out, I'm curious what Drew's turn will look like as he builds out and how you use your cards.
Yeah, and obviously check the pivotal 5 there to get the team hero to stay in the stage instead of failing it. We're going to see 1 Genkai's, and like I said, those are the cards that I'm looking for because Genkai's is a very concerning thing to see in his hand at any point in the game. Was
there a reason you sequenced your build in 2-2-3-5 instead of 2-3-3-4? Like you built the team hero at the end of it, right?
Yeah, in this particular situation, I valued the foundation specifically. Because one of the things that's going to be really nice to do on turn 2 is going to be throwing a Heaven Piercing Ice Wall so that I know I can't be attacked very profitably on turn 2. So because of that, actually having 3 foundations in case I check a 3 to be able to still respond with my character was the key thing here. So I was very okay with failing the team hero. Additionally, team heroes have 4x in my deck, so failing a team hero, I might still draw it. As we saw, I actually have one in my hand right now. So,
and then you opted not to attack this turn. I know we saw what you reviewed was a monster versus machine. I don't know what the other 2 in your hand were, but what I guess I could ask you to pause just because we're.
Oh, absolutely. I will say they are a team hero and a protector of life.
Okay, so really, you only could have attacked with that monster versus machine and. Basically, what was your thought process to not even attempt to play an attack there, instead just get a wider build?
Yeah, it was mostly we didn't draw any attacks. The monster versus machine review is going to be because I didn't think I particularly needed the Breaker 2 versus just trying to build out. Getting a larger stage than Andrew early is going to be very important because, like I said, he's going to manipulate speed a lot. And I'm going to struggle to deal with that unless I have enough foundations to actually block with. And the Breaker 2 probably doesn't matter on turn 2 because knowing Andrew and knowing his deck style, he's going to throw an attack and theoretically I'm just going to block it and he's going to build. And if I Breaker 2, he's just going to build. And it's only going to be a punish if he checks a 3, which he's not very likely to do with his deck. So instead, it was just see more cards, get that momentum. And Monster vs. Machine is never really good to attack with early because it's very blockable. It doesn't really do a whole lot in the early game. It matters a lot more when they have 10 or more foundations because that's when you get to freeze whatever you commit with it. And it is a Breaker 2 block, so it's always better in the hand anyways.
And I just wanted to focus on that before we start entering the hand step on this ice sword.
Yeah. Speaking of, this was when I immediately regretted building 3 my fighting style, but I did commit one to Mitch on purpose to make sure because it was going to get committed anyways. But otherwise, my fighting style is very good to build into his deck specifically because he's running 4X Team Hero as well. So making sure that he doesn't get surprise access to something important is pretty good here.
And do you think there was ever so you opted to use Team Hero for Forceful Negotiator? Do you think you ever would have saved it, or you just what was your thought process? Like saving the Team Hero for another point?
We're staring at a Team Hero in my hand, so that's the main thought process. Is I'm gonna get it another Team Hero on my next turn, anyways. And then I also do want to call out that I did count out. I had to Inspiring Song this in case I checked a 3. So that is why we flipped the Inspiring Song for my own check rather than trying to disrupt Andrew with it, which is another very good mode of it. Because I want to make sure it got blocked. That said, the Team Hero, I'm going to be able to play it on my turn. So for the most part, Team Hero being just an extra foundation of my low discard pile is good enough. That said, that was until I saw Violent Animus Shot, right?
Yeah, and with tapping out against Rodan, oh wow, he is. I did not know he would go this aggressive.
Yeah, he's trying to kill me. I think he learned as well that like he's got to take his shots when he can, which is kind of what we both have to do.
Yeah, because usually you're not necessarily going to tap out to block the first move, but you opted to. So what was like where are you coming from on that?
Yeah, so with 4 foundations, the important thing for me is that I know very specifically I don't die. So in this matchup in particular, Rodan can amount these very aggressive turns that are very scary. But our big like kill card is the one we just saw, Ice Sword Execution. And a big change from Denver the last time I played this matchup in a finals at the time into Andrew specifically. The Ice Sword Execution is a lot more blockable nowadays by my deck. We have stuff like Protector of Life. We have stuff like a 1 mid block on Monster vs. Machine. So for him to get truly big damage on me, it has to be really scary. So basically, if he did attack me there like he did, the options are he chunks me out, and like that's okay. It makes it a little bit easier for him on a later turn, but he's never going to kill me. And I don't really mind that he committed all the way out to try and do damage because he's now stuck at 4 foundations, which is exactly where I want to be. Not only that, we see here with the Heaven Piercing Ice Wall, he's actually stuck at 1 foundation for the next turn.
Yeah, this seems like perfect storm for you of you didn't get to build after you played those attacks, so stage remained small.
Exactly.
And then you started with a Heaven Piercing, and thanks to that and Mitch upgrading the stun rating and my fighting style, you were able to freeze 3 foundations. And oh my god.
Exactly. So it was mostly a little bit of calculated risk on I don't think he kills me if I like tap out for this Ice Sword Execution, and especially through the Breaker 1. The Breaker 1 is also what I felt like mattered a lot. He did end up putting on more damage than I expected. But I thought it would be okay because the main thing I need to do is I need to keep my foundations up and just have an advance on tempo in the game. In this case, tempo being marked by our foundations that are ready as we go to each turn. Which doing so allowed me to really go shields down here and just have 1 card in hand, because what is he going to do on 1 foundation, right? Going so far as to fail a Yelena's that I really didn't want in my hand at the end of building there.
Yeah, and you also got what was it, 7 damage? No, damage in
9 damage total. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, that one was mostly I saw blood in the water when he blocked the Heaven Piercing and was tapped out, and I had Cardboard Crusaders. So there's not a ton of reason not to have Absorbed Energy Strike, take care of some momentum, again, making Ice Sword Execution a much less scary attack, and then also just getting damage onto something very big that is also a very good block later in the game.
Yeah, and I think this is like I don't know how long game 1 goes on, but I would be very surprised if you don't close it out soon based on the game state that I'm looking at. Like,
well, you will be a little surprised. I don't know how accurate the timer in the bottom right is, but we do keep playing for, I think, about 30 minutes at least.
okay, yeah, like this is like a phenomenal game state of they only have 4 ready resources essentially to your 8, I think.
Yeah.
9.
It looks like an amazing game state. The thing that really sucks is Rodan can block on these otherwise impossible to play game states for other characters. So I have to sit there and be incredibly careful. The second I overextend, it's like it's just death. Like, it's so scary.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because I did get chunked on turn 2, right? So I have to play even more careful. That said, we're staring at my hand a little bit here, and I remember looking at this hand. I was pretty happy. I was so happy to send this Bloodsucking Universe, hopefully be some guaranteed damage or take care of some answer, right? I can't remember if my fighting style this one or if I just opted to save it because of other cards in my hand. I might have saved it, actually.
Yeah, I was going to ask them, why didn't you my fighting style this one?
I was fairly locked in, so I'm confident to say I didn't just forget about them. I think my fighting styles are this permanent resource that is a little bit scary to use. I think it had more to do with the fact that I wanted, in case I got more FN piercings, those being freeze 3 with one of those freeze being selective is like very important. And I am about to build an imprisoned. So like stuff getting sealed or canceled and sealed this turn doesn't matter anymore. And when it comes to imprisoned, I'm going to tap my imprisoned, and it's either going to tap Batra Arrives or he's going to tap Batra Arrives for me to cancel it. Right. So I didn't really see it super important to burn what is otherwise a one-time use in my fighting style, right? Because my deck has no way to recur anything.
Oh, you use blue? You use Roman Cancel blue? Okay, sick. Because I was going to ask, why did you not use purple on the Bloodsucking?
I think I could have. If there's any time that I could, it's now, because this is gonna not go to my momentum. But it was because I'd rather Roman Cancel blue. I want to keep him locked down instead. And we're going to see me build in the Imprisoned Committed, because me and Andrew both know ball. We know it's getting used to commit the Batras immediately. Playing into players who know ball is so sick, by the way. It's like we just both, like, we know the game actions that are going to happen. It's very cool.
So now we're kind of midway through the game. You've started to assemble the pieces you talked about from the outset. You found an imprisoned. You have a forceful negotiator. You still have your fighting for controls, and a couple of my fighting styles and the crisis. Now, what are you looking to find at this point?
Yeah, so the main thing that we're looking to find, and I actually forgot to mention this card at the beginning when you asked me, but another pivotal card in the matchup is going to be Undercover Infiltration. Because that is just our most potent deadlock threat. So it really locks him at 10 foundations, or makes it where he just doesn't, like, it locks him at 10 foundations, or he goes above 10, and I get to have such an immense control on an attacking turn that it could spell game. So now that we also have Undercover Infiltrations in our stage, we're also looking to and sorry, I'm thinking on responses here. I'm going to give it a little quick pause because I want to call out this Cardboard Crusader seal, and then I'll finish my earlier statement. Not to make it too confusing on the viewer here, but this Cardboard Crusaders was actually because I didn't want to deal with Roman Cancel making moves, or the reset to 3. Roman Cancel, what, yellow? I think it is.
Yes, yellow.
Yeah, I learned in our Swiss match that actually dealing with Roman Cancel yellow was more annoying than I expected. Like, there's one turn where I could have went in and I think I had answers to everything but Roman Cancel yellow. So because I realized that sometimes can make me take a turn off, or make it where there's one less thing for him to have to Genkai's, I kind of just didn't want to deal with it and make it on, hey, find another heat tackle, right? And if he did find another heat tackle, then, you know, c'est la vie. But I have to take a turn off and it's okay. But I was looking at his health total and thinking just one good attack turn. And this actually segues me into finishing my statements there, which is we're just looking for one good attack turn. We're looking for one turn where we have enough cards that count to 12 specifically, and do so while being unblockable. That a Genkai's is not going to stuff my turn out for the rest of the game. Because I learned from Swiss that having to amount more than one attack turn can be really difficult because our deck is not particularly good at finding attack turns unless we keep hitting them. And Rodan's very good at not getting hit by our attacks, if that makes sense.
And I did just want to ask on like, what cards did you hold going into this turn? And like why? Like defensively, like what did you keep in your hand?
I know I have a monster versus machine that I grabbed off of the Crisis. And I think that may have been it. I think I may have just grabbed or kept like 2 foundations that I was pretty confident like I didn't want to play. But I can't fully remember. We'll see if I flash my hand here and if I have more insight on that. But I know it's at least one monster versus machine. That's going to be the main one that's like keeping him offensively locked in addition to all of our committing.
Yeah, the breaker, if you do end up going for it here, seems like it'll be very backbreaking.
Yeah. It does look like, yes, it was my fighting style, acrobatic style, and monster versus machine. Here, I know the breaker doesn't super matter. Like Andrew knows how to play the game. He's going to build either way. It maybe would have kept him off this 3 difficulty foundation. But I think it's okay. I think if he builds higher difficulty foundations, it's not too big a deal because I have such a stranglehold on his foundation count that it's kind of fine. I don't have to be that scared of it. At this point, our main game plan is we're just continuously rebuying turns until we see the critical mass of attacks that count out to 12. We're not going to take too many risks that entire time while doing so, and we're just going to make sure we keep the most important pieces on Andrew's board locked down. One thing that I think is very important that I'm going to do here, like every turn, is I'm going to tank at the beginning of the turn. This is something that I just kind of do when I play anyways. But especially in this matchup, I always make sure to like get 90% of my thinking out of the way before I ever take an attacking turn. Cause I don't want to like get down the road and then have like something come up and it's like, oh, I have messed up. And if I had thought about this at the beginning, I wouldn't have, right? So you're going to see me tank a lot here at the beginning, and then like quickly play all of my cards or foundations or attacks or whatever.
It looks like you're just playing very high impact cards, and I believe you held a monster versus machine and a low block.
Yeah. And then I had the high block returned to me in the form of absorbed energy strike. Which that one it's a very, very good high block. I knew what was already in my hand, which is that high impact mid block that we talked about in Monster vs. Machine and the low block. So I just want to check all of my zones now that I have a Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla, which is going to make having all 3 zones in my hand very impactful since that returns a block that you play back to your hand. Or it makes it where, again, because it returns the block, I could just break her 2 twice. So basically, I was trying to give myself the most options without gunking up my hand so that I could still draw as many cards as possible. So the idea on Absorbed Energy Strike, in addition to being a very good high block, was the fact that it'll also be a good attack into the fact that he has 1 momentum right now. So unless he spends that momentum, Absorbed Energy Strike could be very big, even though it's kind of easy to block. I do believe it is around here. I think when Andrew went for his water, he mentioned something about like needing the water and was, lamenting about the current game state, which is very understandable, I think.
I want to say, were you worried at this point because this is the most ready foundations Drew has had in the entire game? Like he finally had the a window where his whole stage wasn't frozen.
I think because of the Breaker 2 in my hand and the amount of ready foundations I had, I wasn't, especially because I have fighting for controls too. So if you really think about it, sure, he has a lot of actively ready foundations, but what that does mostly is make my attacking turns hard. You have to consider for his own turn, we're counting out fighting for control, 2 of them as theoretically 2 more committed foundations, right? If he checks well, I'm going to make him pay for it, or he gets rid of an attack out of hand, which is also very good for me. And then the 2 forceful negotiators are also 2 more attacks or 2 more foundations committed. And then if we really, really get into trouble, we had 3 undercovers. So in my head, his stage is committed if it needed to be, which means he has to do 16 on one attack that I don't expect him to do 16 on and can't block for some reason, which didn't seem realistic at the time. Or in that game state, I should say.
So now, what exactly are you waiting for? Are you waiting for a turn where you can play a bunch of moves and stun him out, or are you waiting for him to play moves and you take advantage of all this stun effects?
It is either or. So right now, what I'm actively thinking about is any of the tools in his stage that I have to play through. So in this case, that's going to be Armor Clad. Armor Clad pretty much hoses anything big. In addition to making this not a throw, so I can't get guaranteed damage on him, which he just uses here. So he removed throw here. I have to play through the asset, the Deku asset, Tattered Costume. That's the name of it. I have a free play through Team Hero because I still have kept those my fighting styles and haven't used them unless I needed them. Luckily, I don't have to play through Nonagon or Batras. And then the only other things I have to play around is his open foundations. I now have to commit him out before we go anywhere, right? So it's a combination of looking for an attacking turn that has enough attacks that, and more importantly, enough kill attacks that I can make it through to where he is shields down, and I can play multiple kill attacks that in the game without getting Genkaized. Like I said, this game 1, I was so scared of Genkais. Every single play that I make is thinking about Genkais. It was insane.
So what is some of the stuff you try to do against Genkais to like play around it?
Yeah, the main thing is just having multiple cards that say whatever the final number of life is. So I don't want to spoil the end of the game too much. So I'll wait until we get there for exactly what I ended up doing. But an amount of things that you can do for that is we're actually going to see I'm going to use this Team Hero here. I'm finally going to build in the Mechagodzilla Arrives, I think is the name of the card. But it says Deadlock Powerful, get a power token. So now that we're comfortably in Deadlock and we're both going to probably stay there for the rest of the game, I'm grabbing this just so that I can either have 2 extra damage on every move, which is going to be very good on any move that has throw, or I can overload a bunch of damage onto a single attack. Again, also going to be very good on throws, so that hopefully I'm turning throws into kill cards. In addition to seeing the mechanical monster and the walk the dogs that are in my deck.
It seems like another powerful thing about the power tokens is that you don't have to spend them until you're past the Genkai's window.
Yes, exactly. That is the one lucky thing about Genkai's. We don't have to Genkai's at least gets rid of our attack before we spent a significant amount of resources on it outside of foundations, which is why the foundation count in this game was so important. Also, we're going to see me snap flip my fighting style. I just knew what was coming for sure. We cannot let that Batra ready in under any circumstance. But yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
We're talking about power tokens and Genkais.
Yeah, so the fact that we don't have to waste our resources into getting, you know, I guess another example of like something that hoses it more is like, I can't think of a hand trap that does it, but like Tattered Costume is much harder to play into, right? Because Tattered Costume, I have to spend those resources and then Tattered Costume fires off, right? Which is very, very hard for, like, I've lost all my resources at that point. Luckily at this point in the game, those are resources I don't need. He's now at 7, right? So you know, if I got rid of my momentum, it's not the end of the world into something like Tattered Costume, but it's still something that I had to think about a lot. That is why I'm opting to play these guaranteed damage throws rather than anything else. I will say some of what I was talking about with my game plan was a little bit of, I already have the hindsight of having played the match. I do remember, now that I'm thinking about it, my exact game plan in this moment, if I needed to, was to just play the same Bloodsucking universe until it was for life total. So that is partially what I'm thinking here as well. But making sure that at least one of those Bloodsucking go to momentum every turn, and getting it back for the next turn is the current thought process here.
It's a bit of a slow condition because you can't, if he doesn't enter the enhanced step on his turn, you have to wait a turn cycle to get that Bloodsucking back, right?
Yes. But that does make it where like eventually he has to answer Bloodsucking with a Genkai's, which again is the key thing about this matchup. I think playing into Andrew specifically on Void Rodan is harder than other Void Rodans because he is doing that 3 Genkai's thing, so it's really hard. We are going to see a very odd move for me. I'll pause real quick. So most people aren't going to use something like Fighting for Control that allows you to fail the check on a 3 check, right? Like we instead want them to go ahead and commit those and eat that check. This instead was very calculated because I did not want him to commit me down either all of my forcefuls or all of my undercovers, right? So like our last line of defense is the fact that he's in deadlock and he can no longer play the game if we just decide to use those. But at the same time, preemptively using those is very bad because it's the only thing that's like threatening a true kill condition or threatening like, hey, you can't go too deep on this attack turn, right? So I did actually decide that I wanted him to commit 4 or to have another Ice Sword Execution in his hand here specifically.
I think we've also seen a lot of Ice Swords at this point, at least 3. I don't know if we've seen the 4th.
We have seen at least 3. And one of the things you definitely want to do, or is a positive to do into really good players of the game, and there's the 4th one.
He had the 4th.
Yeah, and we are going to make him check a 3 here, which is very good. And then we're going to -2 speed, have him commit 1. So we did get to commit him 3 on this Ice Sword, which was very good. But he still gets to get it out. He ends up going for my Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. And I think if I have to guess, I think he wants me not to be able to rebuy my attacks that I would otherwise block with. So I think that was the main idea here. It also could have been that he smelt a bit of blood in the water and was thinking that this was the one chance he had to put some damage on. That said, I am going to aggressively use... I'm going to wait for him... Before I do anything, I'm going to wait for him to actually make this worth more than 5 damage. And then because I am staring at a hand of 4 attacks, I'm going to pretty aggressively use defensive options that could be good if he could make more of a turn out of it. So like if I somehow lost this game on this turn, then it was definitely via my own hubris on this Ice Sword Execution. But I'm going to pretty aggressively just use DR on it instead of trying to block it. Yeah, it looks like he's freezing the Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. But I am going to pretty aggressively use my DR on it. So like use moment, which could be something useful later in the turn, but I'm truly not too scared here. And hopefully the least hubris way I could say. And then I'm also going to make it 2 damage to rebuy my Bloodsucking Universe so that I have that for next turn. And that was the entire goal of my defensive plan on this Ice Sword specifically.
Moment of normalcy into the Dragon's Rage, Fortitude.
Very funny enough, on a 5 damage move, Dragon's Fortitude in the stage and Dragon Fortitude in hand is 0 damage. Funny enough.
I never know about the deflect.
True.
They never play around it.
There was exactly one time that it would have came in handy, but I was beyond dead anyways, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so as we're waiting for him to go through his build turn, you still have do you have 3 undercovers or is it 2?
I do have selective commit 6, which makes you feel definitely very in control of the game at almost any point.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, he only has 8 ready resources. Right.
1, 2, 3,
9,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. He was asking what I picked back up, and I'm just debating review here. I think we're going to end up reviewing an Absorbed, only because Absorbed is probably worse than anything else I could draw other than non-attack cards.
That looks like a group of 6 attacks.
It is, I think, 5. I think I draw the 6th one off of... Yeah, it's Dragon's Fortitude is the 6th card. But I'm going to draw another one off of Heaven Piercing, making this attack turn just that much more potent. So right now, what we're thinking about here is we're trying to pathway to a committed board and having answered every single threat that we can see. So the first 2 that are going to be the most important are going to be Tattered Costume and Batcher Arrives. Batcher Arrives because until that card is gone, we cannot press the Deadlock Enhance on Undercover Infiltration. It's just impossible. Because it'll just get canceled. So I believe that's the first thing I locked down here using this Monster vs. Machine. And I was personally thinking about this about a turn or 2 ago once I started gripping these multiple Monster vs. Machines in my hand. About the turn that he built Tattered Costume was the turn that I started trying to have as many Monster vs. Machines in my hand as I was allowed. So we are going to tap down the Botras here. The second Monster vs. Machine that is going to come down here is going to be Tattered Costume, is what it's going to commit, because we can't play anything that has a keyword until then, and we definitely can't play those keywords. But everything else here is going to be immediately taken care of by Undercover Infiltration, committing down the 1 card that can seal anything for the price of me also getting to seal one of his things. And then Armor Clad, which are the 2 most important. Our other undercover infiltrations here are just going to commit the rest of his stage. It honestly doesn't matter what they hit, other than the substitute member to reset it to 3. One other big thing that I actually technically tunnel visioned a little bit on, but that we were thinking about here is going to be the Deadlock Powerful. So my game plan at the moment is to play Monster vs. Machine into Monster vs. Machine into Heaven Piercing Ice Wall into Bloodsucking, because if we do that, Bloodsucking is now a 13 damage throw, and we have turned Bloodsucking Universe into a game ender, which is very cool. After the fact, I've had some people talk to me and question me on why didn't I just make the Heaven Piercing Ice Throw or Heaven Piercing Ice Wall lethal to like force out a block or force out a card in hand. Because usually my answer is, well, I was thinking about Genkai's. To which they say, well, it would have forced a card out of hand. And they're probably right. I do know Andrew during this attack turn had like infinite cards in hand. So there's definitely in the worst case scenario, where, well, I guess he could only have 2 Genkais because we do know 2 of them are in the discard pile and in the remove from game pile. But I was still thinking about the third one. I was just okay with losing to the third Genkais. That I'm now realizing was impossible anyways. We are pretty quickly playing through our attacks here because I do know my game plan at this point, and I'm pretty much selling out on this turn. If anything were to remotely go wrong that I couldn't envision, I'm basically being okay with losing the match off of that. Which I think is, in a lot of matches, you eventually have to do that, right? You eventually have to sell out and trust yourself that you have considered all of the possibilities, right? That you've considered everything that could happen. Because otherwise you have to play so much longer of a game otherwise, right?
Yeah, and you can sort of paralyze yourself with the decision trees if you're thinking about every possible thing they could have. When you think like, I've accounted for everything, or did I?
Yeah, exactly. And we're gonna see that there was a chance that I was doing that. I'm thinking about the Genkais here, but we certainly did not. He did not even have a single Genkais, which was very lucky for us. But I do want to ask Dean, if you happen to have my list pulled up. What do you specifically think that I might possibly sideboard here? What might be my sideboarding strategy?
Well, glancing at it, I don't. I think there's some funny stuff with Censuso, but I'm not exactly sure what funny stuff I'm imagining. Where like you pick something up and then like reuse it immediately. So like if he's in Deadlock, it picks up Undercover Infiltration, and you can like redo it.
Oh, sure.
But I don't, Scalen's Hand can target commit stuff. But I wanted to ask you, as we're signing up, like what did you end up doing? Because it's not about me; it's about the Martin to do.
That's fair. I did want to give you the layup, because what we ended up doing here is we ended up siding out 3 attacks, which is advice that we got from our very own teammate and our very own friend and partner in the channel, Dean Constantine Andriotis. We cited out our 3 Inventors creations. Because as we saw me thinking there, I was thinking about sideboard. I was also trying to remember every attack that I'd seen. I was pretty sure I hadn't seen a single low attack. And I think Inventor's Creation is pretty bad into Rodan because, like, sure, it's another powerful move, but it's like our worst powerful move ever. Like, it's a 4 low, which is very blockable for Rodan, as compared to like Mechanical Monster or Walk the Dog, which are 6 low and infinite low instead, right? So I ended up signing out 3 Inventors creations for 2 foundations. It didn't really matter what they were, but they did happen to be Wide Awakes, which could technically come in handy. There are an amount of things that seal. And then 1 item box also came in.
I'd never get an easy layup in my life. No way.
That said, since you mentioned thinking about game 2 here, the other reason I cited out attacks was because I was ready to play the most safe and most lame game of my life. My only goal for this game was to not see my life total hit 0. Anything else would be tremendously bad, because I think going to a game 3, I then have to be scared again, and game 3 is probably going to last pretty long. It's possible I can win on life, but there's also just random chance that Rodan can put together a very threatening early turn, and then I can't win on life percentage. So we're just doing everything in our power not to die whatsoever, and playing the most safe, taking 0 risks, which honestly kind of how we played game 1. We didn't take a lot of risk game 1, but even more so here. That said, we are still going to play Imprison on turn 2. That's not even a risk. We're going to check the. We're never going to check a 3 on that one. Into a modest build 6, by the way. I would like to point out, because I think some people might be confused why I got rid of Moment of Normalcy specifically. I think that one's very good later into the game. I think on turn 2, that one's not very useful. So I definitely wanted the momentum because I realized how pivotal having the momentum was to my game plan to win. So even though I'm playing with less risk here, I still think it's not as useful early in the game. It did draw me. I did draw a Breaker 2 for turn 1, so I was pretty confident that I wouldn't die on turn 1. Unfortunately, it got Botansed out of my hand. So what I'm going to do here instead is I'm going to make this attack for 1 damage, make it very not threatening because I don't think he's going to swing anymore. And then I'm going to try and block it anyway, just in case. We do check the 5, and I counted it out. I would love to also point out that Iden box came in for an attack. So we checked a 3 there if we didn't side out attacks.
Yeah, that's definitely some like heads up play where I don't think we see siding out attacks very often, or at least very least people don't discuss it as much. So I think that's definitely an important takeaway from some of the games this weekend to like consider that.
I think it's a little bit less applicable to other decks, but it's definitely very applicable to Mitchell, which can be built in this very weird low attacks way. So with that in mind, like getting rid of attacks out of your deck is not that big of a deal because Mitchell cares a lot more about those attacks being useful to your game plan and being useful to winning the game than them existing in your deck at all, right? Like we're not really too upset at like having less Inventor's Creations to string out on some random turn that happens because we much more care about our attacks being very impactful and hitting multiple turns in a row.
Yeah, you would say a more quality over quantity attack package for Mitch.
Exactly. I'm running a higher ratio than I usually run in Mitch, and I definitely don't regret it. I got to see a lot of my high impact attacks very often, and that felt very good. But that still doesn't mean that we don't mind siding out attacks when those attacks aren't high impact anymore.
Mm-hmm. Only half block the Heaven Piercing. That's gotta be great.
Yeah, that one feels pretty good. That means we can bring it back on a later turn. But we are just going to build here for the most part. We do have Dragon's Fortitude, which is going to be very pivotal in being able to reuse a lot of our attacks. And for the rest of this match, I think it's going to be very interesting because I have a tendency to sometimes forget to use my acrobatic styles. They're very helpful a lot of times, but realizing that you need to grab an extra foundation at the beginning of the turn when you do an imprisoned is sometimes very hard. But I think if I remember correctly, I honestly did a very good job this game of actually making sure to remember my acrobatic styles and being very intentional for whether I responded with them or not.
So that's all to say you didn't want to use that committed one this turn.
Yes. This turn, I was confident that 6 foundations was enough. And I think that's mostly because I have the -3 damage if I need it and high impact enough cards in my hand that like it should be fine. There's a world where I think there's a world where if there was a turn where Andrew was going to surprise me and do a lot of damage, it was going to be this turn.
Mm-hmm. And then with the Imprison, you chose Armorclad instead of like Uratogi's, I think.
Yeah. I think it's more important that I get to use, especially in this game state where I don't have any other ways to deal with Armorclad. I think it's much more important that because I chose Uratogi the first turn because I think keeping him off draw was very important. But this turn, I thought it was much more important that I be able to actually use my attacks with all of their abilities as God intended, rather than not letting him draw an extra one. Again, maybe I should have been a little bit more fearful of dying on that turn. But truly, it felt like I was probably going to be fine. And I know we talked about taking 0 risks, but we just did see our opponent build into deadlock, and we also see me having drawn a hand of 6 attacks, which means our options are very limited. We do have bloodsucking, and I think bloodsucking don't build anything is like not the end of the world when we have, I believe, more than 1 breaker 2 block in our hand. But at the same time, we do have to go into an enhanced up. We do have to go into an attack. So we're going to think a little bit about the beginning of our turn. But for the most part, we're just going to kind of see what happens on Drew's side of things for where the rest of the turn ends up going. Oh, I lied. I did not start with bloodsucking. Well, heaven piercing is pretty important too. Oh, I remember this. So I was about to, because I get response first on play of the attack, and I was about to respond to increase the stun and increase the speed, but I had not like finished the action of saying it or committing my card. And Drew was accidentally jumping the gun on Nonagon response. So we were both chuckling at each other because we started playing a little bit of footsies on whether we'd respond. And because once he went for the Nonagon, I went, actually, no, I'll pass first response. I'm good, actually. Because at that point, if he is going to seal it, it is probably better for me not to respond, not to have the committed foundation, because he's no longer be able to re-ready with heaven piercing. To which, Drew then decides, well, I'm not going to Nonagon, and we just go on to the attack, right? This was honestly, I think, good for me. It's a little bit annoying to see, or no, I'm sorry. This is just good for me because in the case where I'm going to continue attacking this turn, I get to just turn off Nonagon with Undercover Infiltration. And moreover, I can just commit down Science Bros and Nonagon with Undercover. And I don't think it's the worst case of an Undercover. Like, I don't think that's wasted, even if I don't end up making this turn the like full attacking turn. Because I don't have to, I guess Science Bros doesn't matter, but I could get rid of like Mikasa defeats, let's say. I could make sure that I don't have to deal with them for this turn, which is pretty good. And, freezing 1 is also still pretty good into his board of only 5 ready, right? But I did want to call out that moment because we were, that does explain a bit of the chuckles there, and exactly why neither of us popped a response that we were both kind of indicating towards.
So as this turn is like starting out, are we just trying to, what is your plan? Like, are you expecting to kill him this turn, or?
I'm definitely not expecting the kill. In my head, I think there's a window where we could kill, mostly because I have the 2 3-diffs in my hand. I believe there's a mechanical monster in there. And then I think there's 2 bloodsucking. So I certainly have a grip of gas, and it's very dependent on what I check and how other tools get used. So for the most part, I'm trying to keep my options open. Oh, I don't end up using the Undercover yet. Ooh. Once I see Mikasa defeats go down, though, I am very happy with this turn. And then the other thing, I drew Cardboard Crusaders. So at the point that I draw Cardboard Crusaders, I just start doing a bit of napkin math and a bit of real math to actually see what this turn is going to look like. Because Cardboard Crusaders now is 3 speed on something, which takes something that would otherwise be laughably blockable and makes it unblockable. So we will actually see what the ended kill card ends up being. But there's a world where, we're kind of early into the game. If he has multiple Genkais, it does suck, but I do now have multiple kill cards in the form of what we will see will actually kill him and Mechanical Monster. And then if he gets low enough, there's a world where something like Bloodsucking universe is a bit more threatening here. But we'll go ahead and see how the rest of the turn plays out. I do also play this knowing that if he doesn't Nonagon this, that it is going to be committed between Undercover and itself. I ended up just committing freezing Nonagon. One of the things that I like to do is, even when constructing a turn where I think the game could end here, I like to make all of my plays in such a way that, like, if the turn game doesn't end, I leave myself the maximum opportunity to get something going on a later turn, or at least not lose the game. So for example, here I come in freeze Nonagon, for example, right? Because I want to make sure that I can actually, like, not die for the most part. Or sorry, not that I cannot die, but that I can amount a fighting turn on the next turn, which is much harder to do if he has Nonagon up.
So your first response here was Mitch on this move, correct?
Yes. So we do Mitch response for the extra speed, just to make sure it's truly unblockable. And then here I am doing my best math, making sure that the Monster vs. Machine in my hand does indeed end the game here. I'm trying to think of everything that could make it not in the game. And we are going to end up checking it here. We're going to respond. And as we'll see, with it having powerful 3 and 3 extra speed, it's going to be a 7 mid for about Exacxes, because it'll be 3 plus 9 is 12, plus 4 is 16. And then we see him get a -4 speed. I also included the student math, which is the extra 1 speed, making this where he has to go on a 4, 5, 6 at minimum to block. A lot of some of the high level play in this game is just counting out all of the damage and speed before you ever make the check. And it's really hard to do. It's really hard to do fast, but that is what that game ended up coming down to.
With the game over, would you stick by your guns if you run this matchup again, that you're trying to, your plan from game one of control the stage, and then eventually find enough moves that you can push through at Genkais? Or has anything changed?
Honestly, no. I think that is the game plan. I think there is not really anything else we could do instead. And I will just keep this playing in the background for now. But I think for the most part, that is the game plan, and it's the only one we have. I think the only thing I would change about this matchup, honestly, is actually changing the deck slightly. I think having more mechanical monsters would make the matchup a little bit easier. So putting in that third one could be very pivotal, because that's one more thing that has to be Genkaized. Unfortunately, I have no idea what comes out for it. So I can say I want one more all I want, but I truly do not know what card would be removed for it. That is going to be the round, though. Hopefully I provided a bit of insight there. I was happy. I mainly wanted to, because I knew I wanted to make this video. I was very happy. Thank you to Dean for being able to actually join me for this. Because one of the things I was scared of was not having, or like missing some key insight. So hopefully between the two of us, there aren't too many questions about plays throughout the match or my thought process while I was playing. But if there are, please be sure to leave a comment down below, or just leave a comment down below congratulating us on the new channel, or I don't know, try not to leave something negative. That would kind of suck. But also
I'm leaving something negative.
Of course you are, Dean. Of course you are. But please like and subscribe to the channel. Any closing thoughts there, Dean?
I think the Rodan matchup is pretty hard for the decks that I play, and watching the Mitch matchup into it looked like I have an easy out potential. It looked way different than the games that I played. So
I definitely think it can look that way. It definitely does not feel that way all the time. But with that said, we will see you guys in the next one. And don't forget to play to your outs.
Bye-bye.